Let's do something kind of special for Lionsgate 2024. I've been doing Lionsgate conversations, episodes, talks, workshops, experiential journeys into this energy for years now. But I feel like we're at like a tipping point, a different point with Lionsgate. A bit of a moment in time where it's a little less out there beyond us, woo-woo, esoteric, la-la, only for like the new agey spiritual people to talk about Lionsgate, to talk about the spiritual sun, Sirius, that this moment in time kind of illuminates or gives us access to. So I feel like, and I'm guessing you're here, because there's a way that you're kind of called to embody, dare I say, open up to the potential of running this energy through your system. Isn't that wild? So why would you want to do that? Maybe we should start there. Why would we want to run this spiritual sun energy through our systems? A couple of reasons. You feel for you, right? I really want this conversation to be an empowering conversation where you're letting the different things I share touch you in the ways that they're meant to. What resonates with you, great. What doesn't resonate with you, chuck it in the fucking bucket, right? It's all good, no big deal. Really let this conversation and the practices, I feel like we might do a practice or something a little later on around this. Let it serve you. Let it serve you. All right, here we go. So what happens when we invite this energy, this spiritual sun energy to move through us? So imagine the sun, let's just talk astrological terms. The sun in astrology is your conscious self. Now, Sirius, if we were to say this is the spiritual sun, right? The spiritual sun in yourself, what is that? So it's not the conscious self, it's the spiritual self. So for any of us who are on any kind of a spiritual path, this is a powerful accelerator for spiritual growth. It's a powerful accelerator for knowing thyself on a soul level. The soul sun, getting to deeper levels of awareness with your soul sun, right? So it's like that path of know thyself, right? Every mystical tradition will say the path is about knowing thyself. Let's say we look at astrology really quickly and we go, okay, know thyself. I can know thyself through my sun, my moon, my ascendant, my Mars, my Venus, all these different parts of self. Amazing. But now if we go to a bit of a higher frequency of self, so it's like a higher state of consciousness of self. We move into a higher state of consciousness within self to know thyself. Get it? That's partially why we would want to move this energy through our bodies. It's partially why Lionsgate is so powerful, working with Sirius energy, the spiritual sun energy. It's like the spiritual sun rays descend upon you. And instead of it being, let's just say, I think a common sacred energy that people work with and talk about around awakening a sacred energy is Kundalini. So let's say we use Kundalini awakening as a way of talking about working with Sirius energy. It's a soul sun awakening. It's a sacred energy in the flavor and characteristics, and we could say archetypal energy if we want, of Sirius awakening in us. So we're awakening to the wisdom that comes with that, the gifts that come with that. So what are these gifts? If we work with the sacred energy of Lionsgate, of Sirius, of the soul sun, spiritual sun, right? And I do want to like back this up a little bit. I know I'm like really getting into this conversation and going wild. I just facilitated a 2-hour workshop on the activation of this energy within self, the embodiment of it, the activation, the awakening of it within self. So I'm very much in this energy and I just want to go for it and give you everything I can. You're very welcome to jump into that workshop to catch it on replay. That happened in membership. That's this month's August's workshop, is working with Lionsgate energy, is working with this Sirius energy, is the activation, the awakening of this soul sun energy in ourselves, this sacred energy in ourselves. You'll find details on that below. It's $59 for an entire month of access. If that sings to you, I would very much go there and do that full 2-hour activation journey into it. But let me reel things back a little bit, and let's kind of talk about Lionsgate, what it is, and this conversation around as above, so below, as within, so without. And that's the whole conversation we're having here. That's the whole reason for kind of tuning into astrological events, cosmic events, for me anyways, is that, and for these conversations in ReWilding, is that we get to look at inner parts of self based on outer events going on. So it helps us to know thyself, right? Because as within, so without, as above, so below. It's that divine principle, divine law. But it gives us a doorway into parts of self that were previously hidden from us. Maybe your soul sun energy was previously hidden from you. So a Lionsgate happening now, us being in this conversation together, it's that your soul sun is now revealing itself to you. The sacred energy of Sirius, right? Sacred energy of Sirius, which is the soul sun. So Sirius is a fixed star. Our sun is a fixed star. Our sun is the conscious part of self. Sirius, the fixed star, is the spiritual sun of self, right? It's also a little bit linked to spiritual heart. It's also linked to this Lionsgate portal. It's like the veils got really thin. This energy gets really accessible. It's like during a full moon, there's more full moon energy. Right? During a Lionsgate, there's more Sirius energy. There's more soul sun energy. And it's like where we could previously not feel it, or we could previously deny it, we can no longer deny it. It's like when the full moon is in the sky, you're like, whoa, there it is, right? It's similar to that. It's just the energy is a lot more intense. It's a lot more accessible. It's a lot more active in us. It is an amazing time to really consciously work with our own soul, which can sometimes, let's face it, let's be real with ourselves. Working with our own soul can sometimes be tricky. It can be hard to access our soul. That's why there's all these conversations around what is your soul purpose? What is your soul calling? What is a soul path? How does my soul guidance feel versus my little self guidance, right? But this is its soulful time. So one thing during Lionsgate, by the way, Lionsgate peaks, we can say it peaks, the energy peaks on August 8th. But the Lionsgate portal, the energy is loud from about the 26th of July to about the 12th of August. That's where the alignment is happening. Sirius is closer to the Earth. There's all kinds of alignments going on, right? But that's kind of where that alignment is taking place, giving us the capacity to access this energy much more. And again, it's access the energy as within, so without, as above, so below, right? And so it being alive and loud out there, it's also alive and loud in us. Us bringing our consciousness to it, which is what you're doing in this conversation. You're bringing your consciousness to Sirius energy. You're bringing your consciousness to soul sun energy. You're bringing your consciousness to the soul, to that which guides the soul. You're becoming more and more conscious of the soul. Just this conversation alone is shifting things. Isn't that cool? Because you're bringing your consciousness, your awareness. That's one of the key points in working with Lionsgate energy, is your awareness, your focus, your consciousness is the conduit. It's the conduit. It's what makes the energy come alive. Where focus goes, energy flows. So where your focus is at, your consciousness is at, is where it's going to make it come alive. And so us just bringing our awareness to this particular sacred energy that moves through us shifts things. Right? Isn't that beautiful? Now there's bigger, more embodied ways to work with it, right? Where you can get Shakti involved, you can get energetics involved, you can get transmissions and activations coming from another person involved, where it's like the soul sun in me is talking to the soul sun in you, and we're helping to activate each other together. And that's that workshop that I just spoke about, that circle, right? It's a live circle, took place live circle, bunch of human beings all activating soul sun together, all opening to it together, embodying it to a deeper degree together. That makes it really powerful. And amplifies it. It's like an amplifier. So feel into, if you're called to amplify your soul sun awakening. If you're called to amplify by bringing more consciousness, more aliveness, more life force, more love, more light to this particular sacred energy. And if you are, maybe that ReWilding workshop, the Lionsgate workshop, is for you. Maybe there's something else for you, right? We've all got to feel into our own unique path and what we're called to. But if it is for you, right, it's there. I would definitely go do it before August 12th. I would do it in this portal, this Lionsgate portal, while the energy is so alive and awake. All right, let's talk about what else this energy can do as we activate more and more of it, as we embody more and more of it. Again, it works a bit similar to Kundalini in that the more it moves through us, the more it purifies us, the more it enlivens us, the more it brings us up to another level of consciousness, another level of, I don't know, we could say frequency, another level of love, another level of love. So if we were to think about levels of love, this is important with Sirius energy because it's also spiritual heart. It's love. It's a level of love. If we were to think of a level of love around, let's just say conditional love, like let's call it human shitty love. Conditional love, love with conditions. I will love you if, right? It's an if then. It's love with conditions. It's not a high frequency level of love. Can you feel that? I know we can say the words unconditional love, but it just kind of falls by the wayside. Like it almost means nothing at this point. Like, oh, unconditional love, well, whatever. We want to roll our eyes in our heads. So it's like love, like uninhibited levels of love, right? Love for the sake of loving. To be loved for the sake of love flowing freely, not for anything, to get anything at all. It's just love for the sake of love. So part of what working with this particular sacred energy does is it just awakens us to more levels of love. It awakens us to seeing more love, receiving more love, giving more love, sharing more love. We are able to tap into higher frequencies of love, if that makes sense, right? And words always fall short. We're in soul territory, right? We're in soul territory, so I will never be able to find words to completely describe this. It's much more of an embodied, experiential, it's a becoming of it. When we worked in that workshop that I just mentioned, the Lionsgate workshop, it's like the becoming of, it's like the great becoming of your potentials. So the other aspect, or another aspect that series holds, Lionsgate holds, is that it is very innately linked to waking up our spiritual gifts. Isn't that fun? And I really love this word, our potentials, our unique potentials, spiritual gifts. And I say spiritual gifts in a really like broad brushstrokes of spiritual gifts. So sometimes we hear spiritual gifts and we like really try to put it in a tight little box, but it's like waking up to potentials that you didn't know were there. waking up to possibilities, to gifts, to capacities, waking up to human capacities that seem totally miraculous, that seem totally mystical. It's kind of why I say spiritual gifts, because it holds in it the miraculous, the magic, the outside of the norm. That's what this holds. That's what working with this sacred energy holds, is waking up these dormant, amazing capacities that you had no idea that you could work with energy in that way. You had no idea that you could hands-on heal in that way. You had no idea that you could see the future in that way. You hadn't, and I mean, the list is endless. It's an endless amount of gifts. And I'm just going to say spiritual gifts, but let that be bigger. Anything that is seemingly miraculous outside of the paradigm that we think we have the capabilities to do, right? So it's this limitless possibilities, these gifts waking up in us. For instance, when I was younger, I had no idea that I could transmit states of consciousness to another human being. That to me was the most wild, ridiculous thing I could ever fucking fathom. I remember when I first started to understand Kundalini awakenings and, went through awakenings and then started to really understand them. And then I remember like facilitating, kind of like the first circle where there was a big sacred energy awakening that happened in the group, right? And it was to me like, oh my God, that is unfathomable. Like I had no idea that this capacity was real. I read about it in like the books of the mystics and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so much for other people. Like, I don't even know if I believe that. I don't even know if that's real. So I'm giving you an example to hopefully help you sink your teeth into something. Something that I can offer you to feel into is, in this moment in the conversation, it's a perfect moment to like pause, right? To just pause, because now the juice is building, the energetics are building, right? If you're still here, I think there's also a weeding out process, right? like weeding out, if you dropped off at minute 2, great, you weren't meant to get to the deeper energetics that come toward the end of the conversation. That's how all rewilding videos are, P.S. There's always like a Shakti storm that's building and the energy builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And I think it also just has this really beautiful way of those who are meant to be at the end will make it to the end. Those who are meant to really, to go the full journey with Lionsgate energy are meant to. There's like a beautiful checks and balances to it, a beautiful, like the divine orchestration of it all. I certainly don't fucking do it. I don't even have a plan for this conversation. This conversation, literally, these are my notes. I don't even know if you can see that. Those are my notes. It says 26th of July to August 12th, star Sirius, sun in Leo, spiritual sun, Sirius, soul, spirit, boundless, self, timeless, untold potential, energy influx. Maybe this is bringing you something. Higher ambitions, wider perspective, play in energetic realms beyond current belief systems, trust, pure creation, magnetism. I'm not sure what that word is. Divinity. That's it. That's the whole plan I have for this conversation. All right, the whole plan. So this is definitely not a Sabrina plan. It's more of a Sabrina hollow bone. What is it that most serves? Really and truly, for every rewilding conversation, I really tap into my heart, get super, super empty, hollow out, and just go, what is it that would most serve this moment in time for those who show up at this conversation? What is it that most serves? May that flow through me. That's really it. That's it. That's how all of these take place. Some are a little more intense than others because the energetics that are coming through are a little more intense. This is an intense energy. And you can hear I'm talking fast. I'm like vibrating really high voltagely because it's an embodiment of that energy to be able to bring it through to you, right? And again, this shit was miraculous to me. It still is miraculous to me. It still is so weird, and I really don't understand it at all, and I don't need to. But feel into that for yourself. So this moment of reflection, this moment of feeling into, what are those gifts? Here's a couple of reflective questions. What gifts are starting to wake up in you? What gifts are you drawn to that make you want to cry? I remember the first time I worked with Hygeia, Kundalini goddess of miraculous healing and awakening. But for me, it was really Kundalini activation and being able to facilitate that awakening in others. And I was having this real experiential journey with her. And it was like her symbol got like branded on my hand, and I cried for like 3 days. Now, nobody in this workshop cries with Hygeia, because Hygeia is just like glorious bliss, pleasure, miraculous healing. It's always stunning, except I'm bawling my eyes out because I could feel the call. I could feel the call to, this is part of my soul service in the world. This is part of what my spirit came here to do. This is part of my mission in the world. And it broke me. So feel into that for yourself. Like, and can you be honest? This is a time frame. This first 2 weeks of August, it's a time frame to be really honest with what you're called to do. Get really humble. Like really humble. It's a soul time. It is not an ego time. And so what helps, the word humble, is letting go of ego judgments, ego thoughts, and to get really real. What is my soul longing for? What is my soul? My soul, right? And if you don't know how to access that deep soul place within, go do that Lionsgate workshop. We really focus, we work on, that is an aspect of working with this energy, is the capacity to tap into deep soul self. Deep soul self, right? That is, if there's anything that I can say around working with this energy, whether it be in ReWilding, in Lionsgate workshop, or it be on your own, it's to tap into deep soul self. Deep soul self, accessing activation, sitting in deep soul self is required to work with the soul sun, like be working with the spiritual sun. I mean, this is just, it's like soul territory. It's soul territory. The soul within us is required to tap into the soul heart, the spiritual heart, the soul sun. So it's like the soul within us is the access point. It's not the mind. It's not the ego. It's not even like our heart. It's the soul heart. It's the soul within us. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what working with Sirius energy, Lionsgate, accesses in us. So we talked about it being spiritual gifts. That was kind of the last little category that we were on. Next thing that I want to talk about is creation. We cannot talk about Sirius and Lionsgate without talking about tapping into pure creation energy and learning how to wield creation energy to the next degree. What does that mean? It means that you become a much more powerful creator in your life. You become much stronger at magnetizing things in. That's a big word for Lionsgate, magnetizing. Magnetizing, the do without doing, the call it in instead of push it forward, make it happen. You literally call it in. You literally call it in because it's a resonance. You become the resonating thing to create the thing, and you call it in. You call it in, right? So the magnetic capacity, the amount of energy that radiates out of you that is required to magnetize people into your life, to magnetize things toward you, the right home, the right relationship, the right career, the right whatever, that becomes louder. Sirius energy activates our magnetic energy. It activates the radiance outside of us. So maybe I was only able, this is such a silly way of doing it because it doesn't work by distance by any way, shape, or form, but this is just an analogy. It's like maybe before I activate Sirius in me to the next degree, right? Maybe before I do the Lionsgate workshop, let's just say, right? You do the Lionsgate workshop. Maybe before you do that Lionsgate workshop, you're able to radiate your energy in a 1 mile radius. Oh, so 1 mile radius, you're able to radiate your magnetic radiance so that it can move energy. It can move not just energy, but physical things, right? It moves things. It calls things toward you. It pushes things away. And the beautiful part about working with this energy is that it's totally in alignment with your soul's highest self. Isn't that beautiful? So you don't even have to worry about, oh my gosh, am I magnetizing in the wrong thing? Am I pushing away the right things? this energy activates deep soul self. It comes from deep soul self. So deep soul self, beyond the ego, right? Beyond the sabotaging ego, beyond all of that stuff, deep soul self is the one that runs the show. And it runs what gets magnetized in and what gets pushed further away from your highest unfolding, your soul's highest unfolding in life. I mean, my gosh, if there's like one energy to work with, it's this energy, like if you're on a soul path, a spiritual path of, I want to create the greatest life of my, the greatest life I can. I mean, well, you do the Sirius activation, go do the Lionsgate workshop or figure out how to do the Sirius activation, soul sun activation of sacred energy in yourself for yourself, right? It's just, it's a good one. Can you see how much I love this one? It has changed my life in miraculous, amazing ways. I've been working with Lionsgate energy and Sirius energy for the last couple of years. You can actually probably scroll through and look, not that you're going to want to watch old videos, but you could look through our YouTube channel for old Lionsgate videos, unless we have them switched off, but I don't think we do. Anyways, let's keep going. I want to feel for another category. So creation, working with creation energy, understanding the laws of creation. Sirius energy will teach you the laws of creation. It will teach you how to create with creation energy. So you're starting to work with the potentials and the raw essence of creation energy. You become a much more powerful manifester, creator, right, of your own. It's like the master of your destiny versus the victim of fate. Feel into that again. Master of destiny versus victim of fate. You really become a co-creator with the divine. I mean, that's not what everybody wants. Like, not everybody wants to become that powerful. We say we want to become that powerful, but, there's all the things that come with that. We don't need to go into that. But let's feel for that next category. So the creation, then we use the words magnetic, magnetizing, and radiance. I really want to bring that about. It brings an aliveness, like a life force, a radiance. So like, let's say, we were saying before Lionsgate workshop, you could radiate a mile outside of you. After Lionsgate workshop, you can radiate to magnetize and move things, call things in, push things away, create in maybe 100-mile radius. Maybe it's 100-fold what you could do before. So it amplifies your capacity to radiate love, to radiate life force, to radiate magnetism, to radiate creation energy, to create beyond yourself, to create with the divine orchestration of the infinite all of everything. just that for Lionsgate. So happy August 8th. Have a really great time. Go do the Lionsgate workshop. Write me a little note. Let me know what changed in your life, or maybe write me a note of what didn't change in your life, because that'll probably be a shorter list. Like, the list of what changes in your life will be much longer than the list of what does not change. When you truly, genuinely, right? This is the other point that I want to say about it. It's one thing to talk about it. And I think for many years we've been talking about it. We've been talking about Lionsgate. We've been talking about Sirius energy. It's another thing to embody it. It's one thing to like talk about Kundalini awakening, and then to experience it, to actually have the awakening. And that's the same thing here. It's the same thing with Sirius energy. It's the same thing with the soul sun. It's the same thing. We can talk about it. We can point to it. You can go watch another YouTube video on it. Like, oh, I'm going to study some more. Or I'm going to embody it. I'm going to activate it. I'm going to awaken to it in myself. And that, to me, is something that I'm so happy that our collective is moving more and more toward, is really the gnosis of it. Like, you then carry the wisdom of it. You then are it. You are a channel for it. You are the embodiment of it. You embody the energy and you express it outside of you, versus we're just talking about it, like, Sirius energy, it's the spiritual sun, amazing. I'm going to write another list of, all my goals. I'm going to create another vision board, but I'm not actually going to awaken that in myself. So to me, if there's anything that I can invite you to do, is awaken this energy in yourself. However you're called to do that. It might not be the Lionsgate workshop. I so very much respect that, honor that. We all have our own paths, and it's about following our truest path. But really, this this kind of an activation, this kind of sacred energy, opening up to it and moving it through ourselves, it's life-changing. It's life-changing. It's life-changing in that it supports us. Let me put it in a better way. We live from soul to a completely different degree when we activate, awaken this energy. You live from soul, which means life gets more soulful. It's more fulfilling because it's from that deep soul place. The relationships we create are from that deep soul place, right? The careers, what we pour our life force into, right? All of that comes from a soulful place. Woo-wee! I am sending you so much love for Lionsgate. I do want to share with you that Lionsgate is also amidst this Mercury retrograde. This Mercury retrograde is going to drag out Lionsgate. Lionsgate is going to weave in with this Mercury retrograde. I did a conversation on Mercury retrograde, podcast on it, the deeper meaning of Mercury retrograde, because he's a psychopomp. He's a guide to the soul. We have the guide to the soul going on a deep underworld journey during this Lionsgate. This is fucking stunning to me. And I say that word because it's important to say fucking stunning, because it's huge. It's big. August is probably the biggest month of all of 2024. If there was ever a time you were going to do any kind of spiritual work, I would do it now. Ever a time you were going to ever do any kind of soul alignment, soul path, soul purpose, soul or spirit kind of a work, it's now. It's now. Right? And if you don't know how to do that, go do Bones. There's also a bonus 1 hour and 20 minute Mercury retrograde deep dive. So there's 2 parts in this particular month of membership in Bones. We call it living close to the bone, living close to the bone, soul fucking truth, right? The whole group is designed for deep soulful living. It just so happens that this month I put in an 1 hour and 20 minute bonus on the Mercury retrograde because it's so crazy important. It's an experiential journey into that supports the Lionsgate workshop. That's a 2-hour workshop. So if you don't know how to work with these and you're called to do some soul work, go do those. It's $59. You get a whole month of access. If you love it, stay with us. If you don't, no hard feelings, right? Go get the activation, call it a day. All right, that is enough. I love you all so very much. I'm so grateful to be here with you. I'm sorry if this came across as a little bit in your face or a lot of fucking energy. My aim is that this kind of stirred things. This conversation in itself is a gift, is a bit of an activation. And if you want more, go to the workshop. But thank you all. I'm so crazy grateful. Have an amazing August, especially these first 12 days. I really feel these first 12 days of just being so potent. Like the stuff that we do now is going to pay off tenfold, right? The practices we do now, the journeys we do now, the getting real with self that we do now, the hard conversations that we do now, the soulful, just think soulful, that we do now is going to pay off tenfold, tenfold versus when it's not during this wildly potent, amazing time. All right, here's love. I will see you where I see you, when I see you, and how I see you.